Alright everyone, it's time to be on the spooky side of vlogging for a while. Cattle mutilations occurring again in Texas. These happen sporadically. It's a similar story to what happens often. And by the way, I'd like to go into more non-political topics throughout the future. I feel like I can't keep doing just news and analysis of that nature. I'd like to go off into more occult and spooky stuff as well. Science news and things. I got a video to make later about methane as a greenhouse gas. That's going to be a new tech exclusive, so you might want to get on one of the other sites, links down below if you're watching this on YouTube, if you would like to watch my video on that subject later. You had a number of cattle killed, link in the description, archived of course, killed in Texas, and the sheriffs there looking into it obviously. This is a thing that happens quite common with cattle mutilations, and we're going to get into a little bit of like people's explanation for these things when they happen, and cults and UFOs. I'll try to explain my own thoughts about them. What you have is the cattle are dead. Some part of them has been mutilated. It's usually the same part on every cow. And usually you have a lack of decomposition, although I would point out that under certain circumstances the carrion can get kind of stanky and the birds do stay away, and it doesn't require like space lasers or, cult embalming fluid. Although embalming fluid can be involved, we'll get into the poisoning aspect of it as well. So the same part of every cow is mutilated, and it was clearly done post-mortem. You know this because the cows are grouped together, so if someone just starts hacking off their tongues while they're still alive, there's going to be blood, which there wasn't here, signs of a struggle, which there wasn't here, and they probably won't all be lying together in one unnatural position. What this speaks to is that an assailant or assailants centrally killed the cows, and then they did their dirty work thereafter. Poisoning being the most likely methodology by which this would be accomplished. It's clearly not natural. Surgical procedures effectively were conducted on the corpses, so there was a third party involved, whether it's aliens or cult members or a psychopath or someone with a real weird fetish, remains to be seen. I'll give my thoughts on all four of those, but we do know that they were killed. This isn't a natural event. Tongues don't randomly get cut off by nature. That's not how things work. Although the soft palate can be eaten away by maggots very quickly, that doesn't appear to be the case in this particular case. Here are some thoughts. I think in this case you probably are dealing with a cult. Based on the similarity to cattle mutilations a la the Satanic Panic, which is now being mentioned more colloquially, I have a feeling that there are some edgelords out there that are going to do copycat things to what we saw in the Satanic Panic. Cattle mutilations was part of that. If you've ever watched Geraldo Rivera's hilariously bad broadcast about Satan's Underground, devil worship, Satan's Underground, and he had Ozzy on there and who was blitzed out of his mind. Just trust me, it is a fun watch. It's just complete propaganda. And keep in mind, you're being flooded with similar propaganda right now on 20 or 30 different fucking levels. It's worse than it was in the 80s, and that's going some. But anyway, I think it's probably cult activity. Not cult as in, hey, devil worshippers who inexplicably want to cut cows' tongues out. I think it's more on the edgelord side. So the troubled, like what would be the trenchcoat mafia of the local school, has formed like a de facto cult, and they're doing sick, perverted things in order to get basically national news coverage. You run the risk by giving that coverage at all and telling people what's going on that other copycats therefore thereafter exist. So if in the area all of a sudden you get pentagrams on the tombstones and swastikas on the synagogue, they're probably linked with the cattle mutilations. Or it could be a singular person. They could have gone into the field and they take their RV there and they call the cows over and then they feed them antifreeze or something like that and they die. You poison them. They could use cyanide, and they could use arsenic or something like that, and of course they'll be able to test the bodies and hopefully discover whether that's the case. Give them something that kills them fairly quickly, and then when they're dead you do, pervert stuff with them. It could be someone who cry for help, someone having a psychotic episode, or someone with a really weird fetish. Maybe they have an alien fetish or something, and they're trying to live their second identity as a space alien. They want to do anal probes on animals and stuff. It is possible. Some people think that it's legit cults. I have not encountered any particular occult literature, and I've studied cults excessively too, that would have a doctrine that would say you should do something like this. If animal sacrifices are conducted, it's not typically done in this manner. It would involve fire and consumption or so forth. If it was some sort of depraved sexual ritual or something like that, then I would expect you would find some evidence of that. It doesn't appear to be there. And I mean, again, if a cult were engaged in such behavior and called itself a cult, I would chuckle at them because it would be closer to some of the very, very postmodern groups that do, like, quasi-terroristic things. Mostly, though, they don't do that with animals. They just go and terrorize people. So, again, I've got familiarity with a couple of those groups. They may not be very fun people to think about and not the sort of person you'd want to have tea with, but I don't think that they mutilate animals generally. I think edgelords fit that more. And then it could be aliens. I'm trying to think about why aliens would come down in order to cut the tongues out of 6 cows, though. What form of experiment could this possibly be? About the only thing would be a behavioral experiment to see how humans react to the situation. Maybe aliens are watching this video on their ship right now as you're watching it too, and they're laughing their heads off at my own speculations. Okay, maybe it's aliens, but I have a feeling that it was a local edgelord group copycatting the Satanic Pan. Again, the overlap with some of the cases that existed at that time. And there are a variety of different types of cattle mutilation and animal mutilation in general when it happens like this. And it's not massively uncommon in rural America for there to be an outbreak of it once in a while. It does happen with fair regularity. I just have a feeling that in most cases it's copycats of other cases because they get attention. And people are like, wow, you know, here's our little Nowheresville one-horse town. We're going to get put on the map, and there's going to be like paranormal researchers and shit here. All we have to do is sacrifice a couple of cows, and all of a sudden tourism will pick up for a while. I hate to say this, but some people would actually conceive of such an idea and think that it was proper and moral. There are weirdos in the world. I think weirdo was, or a weirdo was involved here too. All signs point towards multiple individuals, in my opinion, poisoning these animals and doing this as part of basically being bad. Hey man, we're hardcore. We're gonna get rock out, man. Iron Maiden album spinning backwards. Listen to the devil, man. That's probably, they're going to find like weed or coke residue or empty beer bottles near the cows probably or something like that. Maybe a fentanyl needle. That's about all. Peace out.